Hello students, let us discuss another example from practical number 1. If simple graph G has two pendant vertices, prove that G dash has at most two pendant vertices. Here G dash is complement of graph G. We have given simple graph G has two pendant vertices. So I am writing the given data. Let G is a simple graph with two pendant vertices. And we want to prove that G dash has at most two pendant vertices. And to prove that complement of graph G, that is G dash, has at most two pendant vertices. So for that, let us consider two pendant vertices from graph G. So suppose U and V are two pendant vertices of graph G. Suppose U and V are two pendant vertices of G. Now we are going to consider two cases. First case is these two vertices U and V are adjacent to single vertex in graph G, and another case is U and V are adjacent to different vertices in graph G. So case 1 is U and V are adjacent to to same vertex in graph G. So I am drawing a graph representing U and V are adjacent to same vertex in graph G. Suppose this vertex is W, say W. Then I am drawing graph U, V and W. This representation is from graph G. So there are two pendant vertices U and V in graph G, which are adjacent to graph W in G. So what will be G complement? In G complement, U, V, W vertices are present in G complement. But we know that when there is an edge between UW in graph G, there will not be an edge between graph UW in G complement. So there is no edge between UW. Similarly, there is no edge between VW in graph G complement. But if you observe, there is no edge between U and V in graph G. So there must be an edge between U, V in graph G complement. And in G complement, we want to prove there are G dash has at most two pendant vertices, and here we have U and V, both two pendant vertices, and we want to prove at most two pendant vertices. So you can easily check in G complement there are two pendant vertices, not more than two pendant vertices. Okay, so now we are considering case 2. Case 2. Our first case was U and V are adjacent to same vertex in graph G. Second case is U and V are adjacent to different vertices in G. Say X and Y respectively. That is, here we have considered U is adjacent to X and V is adjacent to Y in graph G. U, V, X, Y, G. We are given that in graph G there are two pendant vertices. That means there are no more than two pendant vertices in graph G. There are exactly two pendant vertices in graph G. So here we have considered two pendant vertices U and V, and in this case also we have considered only two pendant vertices U and V in graph G. So what is G complement? U, V, X, Y. So there is an edge between U and V in graph G complement. U to Y and V to X. So I have drawn G complement. So if you observe, U and V were the pendant vertices in graph G, and X and Y are pendant vertices in graph G complement. So in this case also we have proved that there are at most two pendant vertices in G complement. Here we have to write, therefore U and V are pendant vertices in G complement. Pendant vertices in G complement, and here X and Y are pendant vertices in G complement. So from both cases we can say that in G complement there are at most two pendant vertices. So I am writing here, therefore from both cases we can say that, or we can conclude that G dash. So I am writing here G dash because in statement they have given G dash for G complement. G dash, G dash, U and V are pendant vertices in G dash. Okay. Here X and Y are pendant vertices in G dash. So from both cases we can conclude that G dash have at most two pendant vertices. Very easy proof it was. Now what have we asked? Give an example of a graph G such that both G and G dash have exactly two pendant vertices. So these two are simply the examples of graph G and G dash with exactly two pendant vertices. Either you can draw this graph or this graph. So I am writing example of a graph such that both G and G dash have exactly two pendant vertices. You may draw this graph or this graph. I am drawing this graph. U, V, W, U, V, W. This graph is G and this graph is G dash. So we have proved this result. Now take a screenshot of this. In our next video, we are going to solve another example from practical number 1. Thank you.